Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everyone for being here today on this blessed, high, holy day that's honored and celebrated through so many traditions all around the world. And so there's an energy afoot. There's an energy, a light. And we know that we can use it because there's a resonance, because that's what we are too. And so we sense, and we're always sensing, and it would be really difficult to not sense this week, this Easter week, because there's so much of this amazing energy that is about the journey of a lifetime, the journey of transformation, the real purpose of the spiritual journey, of the life that we're born to live, I believe. I could be wrong, but I really think that's it. So before we bring Dr. Ken Gordon's message to us today, I want to just do a couple little pieces of business about this month. As you know, we're having our annual meeting on the 30th. That's 2 Sundays from now. You have another week if you choose to be a member. No pressure. We love you just the way you are, just the way you come. And but members are the ones who get to vote on our leadership council. And so you will find on the back table our gratitude to all of the people who nominated themselves or allowed themselves to be nominated to serve on the leadership council, the group that navigates the process of growth and of restoration and uplift and stewardship. And so we are so grateful for everyone who was part of this process, the nominating team and I. It's Selena and Pat Weiniger and Carol Kostick and myself. And we're very grateful for the 9 people who we're moving forward for your vote on the 30th. So get to know them. Next week they'll be here introducing themselves, and you'll see that this, people say, oh my gosh, we've never had a whole bunch of people that wanted to be on the leadership council. I mean, this is a first. And so that in itself is a sign. And this morning I woke up, I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night, as most of us who were working all day on this issue didn't get a lot of sleep. And this morning I woke up and my first thought was, remember to pay attention. Remember the book, The Celestine Prophecy? And in that book where there were all these little signs that were coming along, but until you woke up enough to notice them, they just were things. They came and they went, and you did or you didn't pay attention to them. But what happened when you started paying attention to them is suddenly they seemed to have more importance. Suddenly they seemed to be more meaningful. Do you know what I'm talking about? So we're here. That means we know about this. And so Easter is the culmination of this great mystical experience, which Dr. Ken is going to highlight for us. And then we're going to share today the journey of that just a little bit, and bring ourselves into a moment of real awareness, real choice, and the possibility of transformation right here, today, just like that. So if you don't think that's possible, open your heart, because it is. The law follows us. Remember that. So let's hear from Dr. Ken, our spiritual leader.
More of the April themes. This one is for April 16th, which by chance is Easter. And the theme of this one is the science of Christ. Dr. Kathy says that with regard to Easter, we've all had the same experiences in our lives in so many different ways. We've all had the experience of a divine birth, a Herod figure in our families, years of wandering in the wilderness, moments of baptism. We've all had recommitments to live our life through mission, times of deep questioning and doubt, betrayals, These are all things that happen to us on a day-to-day basis, and it is our concept and belief that Easter is not about the crucifixion, but instead is about the resurrection. When we apply these ideas and the same spiritual principles that the great man Jesus of Nazareth used when he found himself in the situation of the Easter moment, what we discover within ourselves is all of the tools that are necessary for us to transform our lives to make it better. To be able to embrace, to be able to surrender, to be able to forgive, to be able to see through the condition to the healing itself. For what we know and understand and recognize is that when our belief in spirit is greater than our belief in the condition, a healing occurs. This is the message of Easter. Dr. Holmes, in The Science of Mind, he wrote, Jesus was not the great exception, he was the great example. As the human gives way to the divine in all people, they become the Christ. He also said that God has given us a power and we must use it. God is the silent power behind all things, always ready to pour into our experience that which we need. We could choose to unify with it, declare our word to be the presence, power, and activity of this one, and speak the word with belief into its power. Emma Curtis Hopkins wrote in The Scientific Christian Mental Practice, in the midst of what seems your degradation, when you look old, feel sick, feel poverty, cry at failure, if you would cease to give way to these things for one instant, you'll see the meaning of it all is for you to know that you are a transcendent being with transcendent powers. This is the meaning of Easter. It is that within each and every one of us, there is that transcendent divine being. And then when we rely upon that divine being, it lifts us up from the day-to-day turmoil and chaos of life around us. It fills every need that we have. It fills our soul. It fills our being. What is required to do that is the ability to be able to forgive and release and let go and have the faith that Jesus had, the faith that Jesus of Nazareth had, that the master teacher has. This is our meaning and this is our teaching for this day in April when we talk about our values. So please have a happy Easter and God bless you. Please know that you are loved.
So Dr. Ken spoke of the power in the moment to be able to speak your word, put the power of that word into that moment, take the power of that word out of that moment, make a choice. This is what Easter celebrates. Easter celebrates the transcendent quality, the ability to rise above. And we do not do it by the ways we often did when we were younger or somewhere else, which is, willpower and effort and struggle and control. Those are not the ways that give us that transcendent experience. So I love that quote by Emma Curtis Hopkins. Dr. Holmes was her last student. And she was a mystic. And when she, I want to just read it again because it's really the main thing. Reverend Edward is the man who coined the phrase, the main thing is to have the main thing be the main thing. And it's such a simple thing to remember, isn't it? It's just like got 4 words. And if we could just remember that in the moment of our degradation, if we could remember in the moment of our fear, or when everything in us wants to fight back, or hit back, or hurt back, if we can catch ourselves in that moment and say, there is a power for good right now in this moment, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it to find peace within myself. I'm going to use it to choose to walk in the light now. I'm going to forgive myself for all the years that I believed whatever that attracted this experience to me now, but I'm going to remember that that is the past. This experience is the result of an old way of thinking. And in this very moment, we can think a new thought, get a better idea, and change the entire course of history. You know, Sri Aurobindo said that once. Somebody asked him, you know, what can one little person do? He said, well, just imagine a big net. And imagine that it is all around the world. Now, the Hindus have a thought about that. They call it Indra's net. But just imagine there's this big net, and it's invisible, but it's all around the world, and it's the energy, and it's at every intersection there is a jewel. That's Indra's net. Every intersection, that's us. We're the intersection of all of this energy going this way and this way. And we are jewels. And Sri Aurobindo said, so just imagine that you, one little person, you lean into that net and you pull it up there at one of those intersections and you let it go. And what happens? Right? It goes out around the world. Just you. You know, you've heard that thing about the, butterfly flapping its wings in Japan can cause a tornado in Texas. You know, I'm not the kind of scholar that can tell you why that's so. But I know in my heart of hearts that when I consciously pluck this net and make a better choice, I feel the joy of that ripple through me. I feel it. And conversely, when I go to that net and I give it a yank, I feel the pain of that in me. I truly do. And I'm learning to recognize those moments so that I find the good and praise it in those moments. That gives me strength. That's like likastiva. That's like, what's the word in English? It's like the Indians would say good medicine. You know, when we find the good and praise it, it's like good medicine for our life. And so we don't need to go yank this net around to let people know how big or important or feisty or whatever we think we are or need to be. We don't need to be that. We're anything that we want to be. We're all of it. So which part of it? I myself want to be more loving and more kind. I do not want to abandon my wisdom, my intellect, my sassy self. I don't want to give those things up. I want to grow. And I'm sure, just like me, so do you. And this is the season. In fact, this is the day. You know, it's not the only day. We can do it tomorrow. You know, we can do it next week. But honest to goodness, Easter is the day when we can take that next step in the journey to rise transcendently out of the whatever ashes, piles, stuff, bricks of the past and say, you know what? I'm just going to try it this way. I'm going to just walk in the light for a change. So nobody says you have to walk in the dark. So in the midst of what seems like your degradation, when you feel old and sick and poor and broken, a failure, if you could give way in that instant, in just that instant when you're feeling all of that, if you could give way to these things for just one instant, you will see the meaning of it all for you is to know that you are a transcendent being with transcendent powers. And those are not just words, those are the highest spiritual truth. This week, I called her Reverend Mary in the first service. I think I'm going to call her that from now on. I just like the sound of that. Yeah, see, she enjoys it too. Great. When Reverend Mary and I were doing our first 7 Spiritual Laws of Success class on Thursday, and there is time for you to join. It's a great class. Anyway, Deepak Chopra wrote the book, and he says about this same main thing. He says the law of pure potentiality, that's the first key concept in the book. The law of pure potentiality is based on the fact that we are, in our essential state, pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is pure potentiality. It is the field of all possibilities and infinite creativity. Where do you think this music comes from? Where do you think the ability to play with that kind of aplomb comes from? Well, yes, you could say practice, of course. But without the inspiration, the practice wouldn't do much. It'd just be da 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 da. But with the inspiration, it's a symphony. With the inspiration, it's the vibration in Rick's voice. The words that fall into place. Those are the moments, and I bet you, if you ask almost every creative person, those highest moments of creativity come when you're working out of something that was hard, when you're seeking to understand something new, when you're ready to shift. Then just your openness allows that whole infinite potential to rise up in us. It never was anywhere else. It's here. So Deepak goes on to say on the seventh concept, so when you understand your true nature, the essential nature of you, you will never feel guilty. You will never feel fearful or insecure again, because you'll realize the essence of your nature is this life energy. It's pure potentiality. It's who you are. So when we understand this, it doesn't matter how much education we have, how much money we have, where we live, what our title is. None of those things amount to a row of beans. When you're right in that moment, when the net is there, and you have a choice to either yank it to express your frustration, or pluck it to say, I am more than that, and I choose peace instead. We have all the power for everything that we experience in our life. And so forgiveness and devotion are two of the most powerful tools that are expressed during this Easter week. I wanted to read, I started to eat my paper this morning. I don't know what was happening. It wasn't the dog because he's far away. Isn't life so great? I mean, really, life is so great. And interesting, too, yes. Yes. And whatever, we think it is. So here's a quote on forgiveness, because this is what Jesus did on Friday. He practiced forgiveness as he entered into the dark side of transformation, to release the past, to release the old life, to die to the old. He said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. We can say to ourselves, I forgive myself, for I wasn't being conscious or loving or kind. Because just talking about it and not doing it is like flapping your lips, it doesn't have any really good result. Yeah. So, forgiveness is not forgetting. It's actually remembering. It's remembering and not using your right hand to kick back. It's not plucking that string and saying, look at me, I'm mad and I'm right and you should know it. It's not doing that. It's transcending that urge inside of us. That urge that came from an old part of us, a little part of us that had Herods in our life that said we weren't okay and we weren't unique and we weren't allowed to be who we were. And so we had to stomp our foot and get our way and make ourselves be seen. Anybody relate to that story? No? Wow, you're such a peaceful bunch. Just me? You mean I'm the only foot stomper in the crowd? I don't believe that. Oh, thank God there's another one. All right. Thank you. See, support goes a long way in the desert, I'll tell you. Just ask Moses about that. So forgiveness is not forgetting. It's actually remembering to make a better choice. That's what it really is. It's remembering it's a second chance for a new beginning. That's what it is. I mean, really, how long do we want to suffer? How long do we want to carry around, I'm a bad girl, I did this wrong, they're not, blah, 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 blah. How long do we pay the price? You know darn well that lack of forgiveness is drinking the poison hoping that they're going to die. And they don't even know you're drinking that poison. They've forgotten all about it, and you're still over here, you know. So forgiveness is setting yourself free. It's the greatest thing. And we have a choice every day, sometimes many times. And, you know, that's what builds that spiritual muscle. God bless it. So the practice is in the moment, can we seize it? In the moment, can we notice ourselves? And if we can't in the moment, are we courageous enough to, when we know that we want to forgive ourselves or forgive someone else or be forgiven, if we can at least acknowledge it to ourselves? I'll give you a very simple example, because I'm sure that you have yours too. You could give me simple examples of the moment when you could either cross the threshold into this transcendent experience, or you could say, I'm just afraid to face that part of me, or I'm afraid to let go, and I've held that. I've defined myself by that. Like I told you, my mother, 40 years. I defined myself by that choice. It wasn't a good choice. I haven't worn this for many years. Yeah, thank you. It is beautiful. But I haven't worn it because the last time I wore it is the time when the experience that I am just really coming to forgive happened in my life. And I haven't worn this since. And today, I looked at it. I brought it here thinking I would use it. And then I went, I don't know. Because if I wear it, I'm going to need to remember my choices then, and my choices all these many years, not to do it, not to forgive myself, not to be forgiven. And then I'm going to have to wear this and have this like all around me, knowing that it's there, and it's not enough for it to just look pretty. You know, it isn't worth it to have beautiful masks and hide the pain behind them. We have to step out and take the masks off. I almost didn't do it. It was in my room, and I went, well, I feel so good. And the other clothes I was wearing perfectly matched the flowers that I bought yesterday. Maybe I was trying to keep myself safe so that I would wear that other outfit. But then Mary came in, and she was wearing this silky Reverend Mary came in, and she was wearing this silky flowing thing, and I knew that what I was wearing, which had a lot of purple and yellow in it, it would clash with her. You see, Spirit is so amazing that I was willing to hide just maybe for another week. I'll try it next week. I promise I'll try. But then there she was. And I looked at her thing, and I knew that we would just clash, and, you know, women care about those silly things. I mean, we say we don't, but we do. And I went, well, maybe I should go put that on. Yes, I'm so happy. See, that's how reverends do. They just show up, and they help you when you really wish they were wearing something else. But that's the job of a minister, to show up in their magnificence and invite you to do the same. And Spirit. And so my dream this morning when I woke up from the Celestine prophecy said, pay attention to the signs. I remember I told you that, right? Well, she was the sign. Blessed be. So, you know, we have opportunities all the time. You know, I could give you a really theoretical talk. I don't like that so much. And besides, we're almost out of time. But what's really important is the primary purpose of Easter is to facilitate this transformation. Starting last week with the ability to overcome our fears and ride into the land of our challenge. And then Friday, to make the sacrifice of releasing the past in constant faith that there is something better. And then with Easter, to rise above that has happened before and to be our transcendent selves. So something in us wants to do this. That's why we've got Easter. We want to be called into our transformation. So this renewal and this opportunity is to learn how to apply it. So I'm going to invite the practitioners who are here today, all of them, to come and join me in creating an invitation for you to seize the moment and make a choice to let the past go and to be in the power of this present moment and feel life calling you. What is it that's calling you? And I'm going to help you. So I invite you to close your eyes. And remember that today is a wonderful day to celebrate those parts of us that we have resurrected. Those parts of our lives that are starting to flourish and shine. That growing ability to be vulnerable. That deepening ability to tell the truth. To ask for support. To know how you feel. To choose to change your feeling. This is an opportunity. This is the spiritual journey, and we are constantly invited to notice where are we letting Spirit shine through, and where are we saying later, not yet. And to decide this moment, this day, what is it that you're really willing to be done with? I am willing to be done with feeling shame about something a long time ago from a different me. And in order to do that, I turn my attention to this divine presence that is within me. And I know that I am one with it, that it is all-powerful. And the minute that I make a new choice, it follows and supports that direction. And so the call of Easter is to roll away the stone of the tomb that you have hung out with and hung out in and set ourselves free by a new level of consciousness. And so I'm going to teach you a little mantra, and we're going to share it. I praise my life. I raise my life in the name of love. So I want us to do it together. I praise my life. I raise my life in the name of love. And so I invite you to just do this as a little mantra right now. And then whenever you're ready to really be acknowledged for the divine being, the transcendent being that you are, I invite you to come up and stand in front of any one of these beloved beings and say that to them. And they will say to you, I praise your life. I raise your life in the name of love. So this is a moment I sincerely urge you to let Spirit guide you to take it and use it. So remember in yourself, I praise my life. I raise my life in the name of love. And then be guided to come and receive a deep Easter blessing. my life. I raise my life in the name of love. I raise my life. I praise my life in the name of love. I praise my life. I praise my life. I find the good and I praise it. And it raises my life. As I praise it, it rises up. I raise it in the name of love. Our love, the love of God, the infinite love. So the practitioners stay as we do our closing prayer. And as you hear this prayer, you can hum along. Give us this day our daily bread. Itak ona jest, itak ona jest, itak ona jest, itak ona jest. Itak